Hello everyone, my name is Lisa, and now I will share my analysis about the global economy transformation due to COVID-19 pandemic and mainly focus on supply chains. As we can see, COVID-19 pandemic has created very serious consequences and trained all aspects of the daily life. According to the World Metro 2021, COVID-19 has infected more than 100 million people with alarming rate, and it also challenged global economy activity when all countries around the world are struggling to stop pandemic spreading. Lockdown, social distancing, transportation, and other regulation during pandemic has affected business activity and global supply chains. To clarify this point, my presentation today is divided into three parts. First, I will talk about the definition, what's a global supply chain and its characteristic. Second part is impact, which include positive and negative impact. And finally is transformation and proposed solution to mitigate negative impact of COVID-19 situation on global supply chains. Now let's look at the global supply chain definition. The global supply chain is a system spanned in many countries and regions, and businesses use global supply chains as an effective way to produce and supply goods and services. Global supply chains can include employees, supplier, resources, information, and process cross-border. So, why are global supply chains important to the economic activities? The first reason is lower cost. Global supply chain allow companies to utilize lower costs, which can be labor costs, production costs, transportation, or the different exchange rates between countries, which contribute to lower price of goods and services. Another reason is bigger demand and larger market. Global supply chains can help companies to sell their products to the customer around the world, and it also creates opportunity to cooperate with new potential suppliers. Final reason is spread potential risk. It means when a country or region have natural disaster or diseases, other regions still can operate continuously. However, global supply chains still have some inherent problems. Longer delivery time, fluctuation in exchange rates, unstable political environment, and the lack of transparency of product origin. And the most important is when global supply chains span in many countries, it can lose of control and increase the risk and dependence on supplier and contributor. So these weaknesses are more evident during pandemic. So how has COVID-19 affected global supply chain in terms of negative impact? After exponential growth in pre-pandemic periods, most of global supply chain has grown accidentally with complex transaction network instead of scrutiny at all stages. A successful supply chain includes manufacturer, sub-manufacturer, contributor, and logistic agent. However, when COVID-19 occurred, the disruption happened from the supplier to final customer, and it broke the connection inside the supply chain. It demonstrated that the global supply chains are very vulnerable. Let's look at some main industry. Tourism and airline industry are two main areas that have most affected by COVID-19 pandemic. The reason is the drop in demand and travel restriction. Medicines and medical devices also faced supplier shortage and trade restriction. For example, more than 70% of medical production in India relies on Chinese supplier. So when the COVID-19 occurred, the suspended production in China also results in drug shortage in India. Now let's look at retail supply chain. This chart describes the level of disruption during COVID-19. More than 12% of retailers reported that they have heavy disruption and more than 50% have moderate disruption. The reason for this situation is the labor shortage and logistic disruption, such as canceled flights, custom procedure, or quarantine. However, it seems clear that the demand for some goods and services increased dramatically during pandemic. This is one of positive effects of COVID-19 on global supply chain. Ventilator, masks, and protection gear increased sharply, and this creates a new transformation on global supply chains. Social distancing, remote working environment, and other regulation create a good opportunity to develop online platforms such as Skype, Zoom, and other entertainment media and online shopping. So let's look at the chart. This chart describes the region of increasing online shopping in Vietnam during pandemic. More than 50% reporter stated that they were practicing social distancing and want to limit the time outside. And other region and most other region also related to COVID-19 situation. So we can see a clearly link between the increasing online shopping and COVID-19 pandemic. So COVID-19 has affected global supply chain in both positive and negative way. So it means the company need to train to adapt and recover after COVID-19 and also prepare for future crises. In the short term, e-commerce strategy will be a priority of most enterprises. It aims to improve operation resilience and health and social care supply chain will be focused to protect employment and deal with changing demand, material shortage, and operation disruption. Some companies have transformed their production. For example, electric vehicle manufacturer Tesla decided to manufacture ventilators, and other famous fashion brands also decided to produce face masks. So many companies have transformed their production and orientation to suit and overcome crises. So how about in long term? Company will focus on new operational performance to minimize the potential risk. Digital transformation will cross entire the trends. To do it successfully, let's look at some solution. Managers should understand their vulnerability and find a way to improve it. Mapping fully your supply chains includes from the supplier to transportation hub, and then evaluate the risk level of each supplier. You can use this information to determine the sources and storing important materials, so the company can spread the risk across multiple suppliers. Another solution is hold inventory and extra stock. Suppliers sometimes are not available in the market, so the company needs to determine how much extra stock and inventory should hold to operate continuously through disruption. As the next solution is technology. Investment in artificial intelligence and new technology will be the key in the new periods of transformation. It can allow companies to get lower cost, flexible choice, and switch to automatic production. And finally is sustainable development. Companies need to consider sustainable elements such as labor rights, environmental protection, product sustainability, and financial elements. So the combination of these solutions can create a supply chain agility and can help companies to overcome COVID-19 pandemic and also future crises. That's the end of my presentation. Thanks for your listening.